Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I have a more masculine themed card for you guys using a whole bunch of distress inks and only two different colors of cardstock. So I started off with some distress watercolor cardstock with the smooth side facing up, and I ran it through my Big Shot die cutting machine with the new MFT Tree-mendous Die-namics set. And I ended up doing that twice because I thought, while I'm making one card, I may as well make two. And then I've got my craft sheet here, and I get asked a lot, it's like, how did you get your craft sheet to be able to move around like that? It is taped to a masonite board. I just use, you can kind of see the double-sided tape kind of sticking through there. I just taped it to that, and that way I can kind of move it around and set it off to the side when I'm not using it. So I've got that to kind of protect my work surface, and then I'm sponging a whole bunch of different distress inks onto these die cuts. I started off with Twisted Citron and just sponged that in the center of the treetops, just to give it a little bit more depth, I guess. And because I'm obsessed with that color. So I did that first, and then I used 3 different shades of green to sponge each of the different shapes of treetop. So I used Mowed Lawn, Lucky Clover, and Crushed Olive, and just sponged those all. And then when I was done all the treetops, I did all of the die cut trunks, and for that one I used Gathered Twigs. So sponge that on. I got color all over my fingers. If that bothers you, you can hold on to the die cuts with a piece of scratch paper. That also applies sometimes if you don't want fingerprints on anything, because sometimes the oils from your fingers can reactivate the distressed ink. I didn't have a problem with that this time. Plus, I was planning on doing what I'm doing now, which is I laid everything out and then I sprayed it with my distress sprayer, holding it 8 to 10 inches maybe away. I just kind of hold it, and then you press the trigger halfway down and you get these big old splatters, which are super fun. And then you let it sit for about 30 to 45 seconds because it reactivates the ink. And then you pick it up with a paper towel and you get this super fun mottled splattery look. So I did that twice, just drying them really well in between with my heat tool because I'm impatient. And then, yeah, sprayed them a second time, let it sit for the 30-ish seconds, and then picked it up with paper towel again, and I got this really fun mottled look to them. I decided to leave the trunks as is. I thought it'd be just a little redundant. Plus, with them being so small and narrow, it wouldn't be as obvious. So, and again, just for a little bit of differentiation between the treetops and the trunks. And then to create my whole little scene I got going here, I cut some more distress watercolor cardstock with one of the Grassy Hills Die-namics dies, and then sponged that with some forest moss ink. And then I took a full sheet of the distress watercolor cardstock and sponged on my favorite colors for like a sky. Like for sky colors is Broken China and then Tumbled Glass. And I didn't worry about covering the bottom because that's going to get covered up by the grass. And I also didn't worry with these about, creating a perfect blend. That's the nice thing too about doing this whole little spritz technique is you don't need to have everything blended perfectly because you're not going to be able to tell. And that's especially nice with large areas when you're blending because otherwise it can take forever. Like my arm can get sore sometimes when you're trying to get everything blended perfectly. So I just applied the color, spritzed it all, let it sit, and then picked it all up with my paper towel. And then I set that aside to dry, and while it was drying, I took 2 pieces of a dark brown cardstock. This is chocolate brown from My Favorite Things, and they're both A2 size pieces, and I ran them through my Big Shot with the largest die from the new Inside and Out Stitched Rounded Rectangle Stacks Die-namics. Say that 3 times fast. And I die cut them first before stamping because I can save the center areas that were die cut for something else, so I didn't want anything stamped on them. So I die cut them first, and then I pulled out the wood grain background stamp from MFT, and I'm inking up with the same, like the coordinating ink. So this is the chocolate brown dye ink from MFT. And I just applied ink more around the perimeter of the stamp since, again, there is no center. So got it inked up, put down the die cut piece of cardstock or like the die cut frame face down on top of that, and then use some scratch paper to keep that ink from getting all over my hands. And then I've got this fun wood grained patterned die cut here, and I did that twice. And then just to clean off, especially my background stamps, I just like using a baby wipe to clean them off really well. So wipe off all that excess ink and then set that aside. And then to create my scene, I thought about, applying things with foam tape, creating a bunch of dimension, which is totally you know, whatever floats your boat. But this time I decided to keep everything flat. This is a card you could easily pop in the mail. You wouldn't have to worry about it getting smushed. Just easy peasy. So I just adhered everything flat to the little scene I created with some Tombow Mono Multi. So I adhered the grass piece first, and then I adhered the treetops, and then the trunk, and then I ran a line of adhesive all around the perimeter of this, and then pressed the frame I had created into place. And that's a nice thing too about Tombow Mono Multi. You have a few seconds of wiggle room to kind of get things lined up. And while that was still wet, I was able to slide the scissors in between the frame there and the back piece and just trim off that little bit of the tree that was hanging over the edge. So set that aside, and then I grabbed the new Friends Die-namics and die cut some more distress watercolor cardstock and left the die, like the die cut in the cardstock here so that I could sponge it, because trying to sponge die cuts like this, they want to bend and they can tear easily. So it's easier to just leave it in the cardstock. And I also wanted to create kind of an ombre look. I wanted it to be a little bit darker towards the bottom just to help it stand out more. So I used the same gathered twigs distress ink and sponged that onto the sentiment. And then same thing, that was another reason why I decided to adhere everything flat, because I was going to pop up the frame on foam tape, and then I was like, oh, I would have had to cut up so many little pieces of foam tape to pop up the sentiment for the way it's going to be adhered. So part of it was laziness, and part of it was, yes, if I want to pop it in the mail, I don't have to worry about adding extra postage or, you know, using some padding to protect it. It's just good to go. So, and with all of the splatter and everything with the distress inks, it creates its own, you know, texture and dimension too. So once I had everything adhered, I'm going to adhere these to my card bases. So they're standard A2 size card bases, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches of just heavyweight white cardstock. And I use the same Tombow Mono Multi to adhere those into place. And then to finish off the inside, I chose 2 different sentiments from the Friends Like Us stamp set, and I inked it up with just that same chocolate brown dye ink and stamped those onto the inside of each card. So once those were done, that finished off the cards. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post where I'll have the pictures posted as well as picture links of all the supplies used. So, and the supplies will also be listed in the description box below the video. So check that out below if you are interested in any of that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.